through this game. I'm not doing a challenging playthrough. I'm just going to be running through the game. Now, I have beaten this game a couple of times on PS1, the PS1 era Resident Evil. And so it's a little bit different than this. And to be brutally honest, I've actually never completed the remake version, this version of Resident Evil. And I just want to speed through it. I already know most of what I'm supposed to do. There's a sort of familiarity. But it's been so long since I've actually beaten the original Resident Evil. And the reason why was because Resident Evil 2, I actually thought it was better than the original. And so a lot of people probably don't really want to hear that. But, you know, deep down, I gotta say, the original Resident Evil is just an outstanding game. Maybe it's because when I was a kid, I just liked the concept of the whole battling the tyrant on the second playthrough. I like doing Hunk's scenario. I don't know, when you go through this game for the first time, you're like, what are all these items? This will be exploring for a good while. Now when we come back, these zombies, I think, should break through this window. I'll have to run past them. Yeah. Round past it. We're not going in that room because I believe there might be whatchamacallits, Crimson Heads. You have to, there's one thing about the original Resident Evil that I just admire. It is the level design itself, the whole, well, you know, when you first start out, there's not a lot of like shortcuts or extra routes. Usually doors are unlocked and you have to do some exploration, and then you can unlock it from the other side, and then it allows you to basically quick traverse through one area to the other. This mansion is pretty big. The thing is, the game does not bank on that concept alone, because if it did, Resident Evil in and of itself would not be the way it is. And I like it the way it is, because the thing is, you know, when we talk about survival horror, what does that really mean? I mean, like, what does that actually mean? And I'll tell you this, the first 3 Silent Hills are atmospherically scary and psychologically scary. It's not like Resident Evil, where there's item management. Except in SH4, where they actually had inventory. But, you know, I mean, there's other survival horror games that are not just Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and I think that's part of the problem, because you see, when you talk about survival horror, I mean, there's a bunch of titles, and, you know, today, I mean, in today's environment, in today's scope, there are 2 indie survival horrors that I want to go ahead and mention. If you have not already played it, I recommend playing Daymare. It is not the greatest experience you'll ever have with a video game, but I'll tell you what it is. It is the closest thing that we will get to like a modern classic Resident Evil mixture. Because they don't make games like they used to, and they never will. Not anymore, they won't. And it's sad, really, but I think it is something that we will definitely have to go ahead and just brush off and accept, because the harsh, cold reality is that franchises like Resident Evil are not going to survive in today's scope of things. So they've had to redo the franchise and put it in the action direction, which killed, I think, for the most part, a majority of the long-term fans. Now, Resident Evil 7 was a return to the roots of what really made Resident Evil a good game. It took place in a large house, similar to the size of a small mansion, and there's all the, you know, there's a guest house, there's a boat house, you know, there's all these other things to this large property. And it's, you know, the more, you know, enclosed environment. And I think they did an excellent job at executing their plan with Resident Evil 7. I think if it wasn't for Resident Evil 7, I don't think that we would have such a great Resident Evil remakes. And I've seen the trailer for the Resident Evil 4 remake, and it looks pretty okay. I mean, it looks like they're going more toward the graphical direction, at least. I really want them to keep mercenaries. I mean, seeing as though Resident Evil 3 got rid of the mercenaries concept and tried to give us some bullshit online mode, which would have been fine, but it would appear that, I don't fucking know. God, you gotta be right there. I know exactly what we're gonna wind up doing. Alright, here we go. What if we not